Good morning, I'm Clint Walker and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today we are going to answer the question, what is a custom home? Now, this did not come to me exactly as a question, like most of the ideas for my videos do. It actually came to me in a reconsideration of value on a new construction home built by a big national builder, where the buyers, like in most of them, can go in and choose upgrades and things like that. So typically with these big national tract builders, the appraisals aren't an issue. A lot of times they don't give buyers a massive amount of selections that they can make in their design center, and they're just constantly selling houses. Some of them sell houses early in the development to investors and the company leases them back, which sort of establishes a cash sale early on, and they just sort of know how to guide their buyers to keeping their selections and their ultimate price in line with what's been selling. But every now and then I get one where the buyers have just really gone to the extreme in the design center selecting upgrades. And when I say every now and then, I think the last one I got was like 3 years ago. But last week I got another one. And so what happened was, just that. The buyer went to the extreme in the design center. There was no bridle on selecting upgrades to the house. And if you've ever been a part of one of these builds and gone into the design center of somewhere like Beezer, you can make nice upgrades, but they're going to have like 6 different levels of granite and 5 different levels of cabinets and 4 levels of carpet pad that you never see again once it's installed. So all of these things, these higher levels of improvements of interior upgrades, they don't really look much different. Sometimes they do, like with granite and quartz, some of the level 5 quartz will look much different than the level 1. But some of it doesn't. And so your particular taste could lead you to a level 5 quartz that looks very similar to a level 1 quartz. And therefore you pay thousands of extra dollars for your countertops, but you get a product that is only technically superior to the lowest level. And when you get a product that's only technically superior, what happens is your buyers on the back end or your appraiser on the front end walks in and says, well, this kind of looks like everything else. It doesn't look like anything special. We do get the list of upgrades that you've chosen, but ultimately, as I think I've probably said in many past videos, we are approaching this like an expert buyer, or basically like a buyer, like the next buyer of your property, especially in lender work, sort of with the idea that if you were out of the picture and your bank or somebody had to resell this property, what's the market going to say about everything you've done to the house? So we do know the costs of what you're selecting, and we do see that you're selecting level 5 granite, and it can make a difference, but it can also not make a difference. Okay, so all that to say, you can go ham in these design centers, spend a lot of extra money and not get much impact out of everything you're spending. Okay, but the builder is just racking up pure retail cost on you and everything that you're selecting. And as I think I've said in the past video, cost does not necessarily equal value. Search for that video if you don't know what I'm talking about. So that's sort of the background of a situation that sparked the idea to make this video. So what happened was these people did just that. They selected so many upgrades, really put a lot of extra money into their home, which I know from a buyer standpoint makes you feel good. You feel like you've got a house that's more special than the rest of them because you know you're making tons of money in upgrades. But then there's that disconnect between what the cost of these upgrades are and what value they bring. So anyway, ultimately in this thing, the value had to come in low. It just didn't make any sense to give this property a market value that aligned with the extra cost that the buyers were incurring for all the upgrades that they selected. And so what happened was, in the reconsideration of value that I inevitably got, the buyers said, our home is a custom home. We selected all these upgrades. This is a custom home, and we think it should be compared to other homes that are custom homes. I understand the sentiment. You've put in, a huge amount of custom upgrades into the house, and you feel like your house will be drastically different from others by virtue of all those upgrades. But in the real estate world, and this is not just appraisers, there would be many agents who would back me up on this, especially if they were the buyer's agents and a seller was trying to charge a premium as if this was a custom home. A custom home is not a home that has been customized. It is a specific thing that has been custom designed by your architect, built on your land with money out of your own pocket, with everything, every single detail selected, custom and almost unique, but not necessarily unique, but custom for your taste. Okay, a custom home describes a level of quality that is far superior. It's so superior to other homes on the market, to the average home on the market, that in the uniform residential appraisal report that we use for lender work, that is created and designed by Fannie Mae for their own purposes, we have a special designation, special quality designation for custom homes. So if you've never read through that, and why would you? If you look at the sales comparison grid, right around in the middle, right above the bedroom and bath count, right above the square footage statement of the house, you'll see You'll see a designation that says Q something, and that is Q1 through, I think, Q5 or maybe Q6. Q6 would be the lowest, Q1 would be the highest. But we have these designations, and the form has a definition page that defines what they are, and you can grab an old appraisal report and read this if you're interested. But these Q1 through Q whatever designations define the quality of the home. So a custom home is going to be Q1 or Q2. I have never personally appraised a house that meets a Q1 standard. That is Q1 being the pinnacle of quality. It describes a level of custom home where it might be necessary to go to another state to find a comp for a house of this quality. Okay, so this is like your castles that someone builds, or just your massively unique properties. There are very few comps, and it would be outside of my level of expertise to even appraise one, and more liability than I want to incur to appraise one of these things. I've turned down appraisal reports on houses that I thought might meet this quality level, but there just aren't very many of them. Okay, Q2, we've got some of those in this area. These are going to be your properties that are well, depending on the area, because the land value is a part of this, but these are going to be your properties that are ranging from like $4 to $8 million or more. They are highly customized, extremely expensive, many custom, perhaps imported materials going into these houses. They don't rise to the level of truly magnificent and unique like a Q1, but they are exceptional. And after that, you get into Q3 and Q4 homes, which make up the majority of the homes in our area. So Q4 is going to be your average house, your tract builder house, your Cape Cods, your ranches, your normal ranches. You could have a Q2 ranch, but your normal house that I live in, that most of us live in, because it's the average house. Q3, semi-custom, and you know what that is because they get a little bit of a premium. Gosh, I can't even think of. If you're familiar with local builders like Turnberry, they're building a Q3 level house. I think the Fannie Mae definitions even talk about the number of exterior angles and corners on the house. But it is just a little bit of an elevated quality that doesn't quite rise to Q2, but better than a Q4, Q3. So a custom home, you start to see how when you say my home is a custom home to a person who has a broader knowledge of real estate construction, that is a specific thing. And simply making customizations to your home don't make it rise to that level. Okay, if you are building a home in a neighborhood that is controlled by a builder, and you're going to that builder and you're selecting their floor plan and building on a lot that they're providing, you are more than likely not building a custom home. You're building a tract home that you might be able to do customizations to. It might get into a semi-custom level, but it is not necessary. It's probably not custom. So what do you do with that information? Well, I don't really know what you're going to do with that information, except don't describe your tract home to an appraiser as a custom home if your credibility is important to you. And in a reconsideration of value, your credibility should be important to you. Be realistic about what you've got. It's not a bad thing to be living in a tract home. Okay? It is just the reality of what your house is. And if you're asking for a reconsideration of value, demonstrating to your appraiser that you can be somewhat objective and somewhat realistic and knowledgeable helps your argument, helps you get your point across, and might help you get your value reconsidered. Because again, credibility matters. So do with that what you will. I hope it's interesting, and if we can ever be of service to you, maybe helping you figure out whether you've got a tract home or a custom home and what you can do with that information, you can find us on appraiserpool.com. We can also do professional measurements and consultations for you. I really appreciate you watching, as always. If you haven't liked and subscribed, I would love it if you did that. And hope you have a great week. See you next time.